All right, hello, welcome to the weather update. It's 10 o'clock on 27th of September, and of course, we are talking about Hurricane Ian, and we're just leading right off with it because this is the major disaster that is going to be taking place next here, anyone in the Tampa area, west coast of Florida, uh, I hope they get evacuated. That's all I can say. Life-threatening storm surge, catastrophic winds and flooding expected in the Florida peninsula. And actually, it's going to be a problem for much of Florida. So as of 8 p.m., its location is 24.4 north, 83.0 west, about 180 miles south-southwest of Punta Gorda, Florida, and 20 miles southwest of the dry Tungustas. Maximum sustained winds are 120 miles an hour, so we're talking about, I believe, a Category 3 hurricane right now. Moving north-northeast at 10 miles an hour, so it's slowing down. Minimum central pressure, 947 millibars, 27.96 inches. And we have hurricane force winds extend outward up to 40 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extending outward up to 140 miles from the center, so it's already grown. Sustained tropical storm force winds have been reported at Key West International Airport and the Key West Naval Station in the last hour, and a buoy reported near Sombrero Key recently reported a sustained wind of 43 miles an hour. And the Florida Keys Marathon International Airport had a wind gust up to 52 miles an hour. And we'll see if there are any power outages there in a moment. So let's go to the latest here on the warning cone here, and you'll see here we've got hurricane warnings now in effect for much of the west coast of Florida, and tropical storm warnings now in effect for the rest of Florida. And this could as well be expanded. And to be fair, this doesn't show everything. When we go to the weather and hazards map, which we'll do right here, you'll see here. This is where the hurricane warnings are posted. So we got, again, hurricane warnings in effect here. So we go here. We got the hurricane warning in effect here. This area here, we've got a hurricane warning as well. So this is the whole part of Florida here that's dealing with this. All right, the whole peninsula of Florida is going to feel the effects of this. And take a look at what we've got right now going on with the observations, because that was already old information. I was kind of waiting for the latest advisory to come in, but 68 mile an hour wind gusts now reported at Key West. South-southeast wind at 48, gusting to 68 miles an hour. So they're already feeling the effects, and you can see right here at this buoy here, we've got north-northeast wind at 56, gusting to 74. So they're already feeling the effects of this already in Florida already, and it will only get worse as we head into tomorrow. Yeah, that sound you hear is people always setting off their smoke detector. It's not, it's not from my apartment, but people just love to set off the smoke detector when they cook around here. Northeast wind at 36, gusting to 49. Hopefully it's not coming out in the video, but it might. But just letting you know what that sound is. And I have my window open because we don't need the air conditioner anymore. But you can see this area here is under tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches. So we still have to watch here. So this whole area here, this whole Florida area is gotta really worry a lot about this storm. So let's take the latest satellite imagery on it. We will go look at this is the current satellite for us. And today we had a fairly sunny day in our area. Some clouds here and there, but fairly sunny. But let's go take a look at Ian here on the satellite so you can see what it looks like here as it takes aim at Florida. And it really looks like it's actually going to go south of Tampa now. Tampa's up here, but it almost looks like it's going to go south of Tampa. Looking at this, but you can see the storm here. It's pretty large. Like I said, it covers a good part of Florida. So even if wherever it makes landfall, even if it makes landfall here, you're going to feel the effects everywhere in Florida from this. Probably less likely in Miami and the vicinity, but especially this area here, you're going to really feel the effects. Tampa and the whole west coast of Florida, but even Orlando in the middle of Florida. You can see where this is heading. All right, so let's now go to the other satellite we have, which is the Tropical Tidbit satellite. And again, here it is. Again, you got this storm that's a pretty sizable storm here. Now the Keys will not get a direct impact from this. They're getting a glancing blow, but they're still seeing some pretty significant conditions over there. You can see it's heading. It looks like it's heading somewhat south of Tampa right now. If we just look at it and kind of nowcast it and how it's moving. But let's now go and take a look at where the models are taking it. And a lot of the models are now taking it south of Tampa as well. So the tracks has shifted more to the east now. It's shifted more to the east, and this is more of a problem now for some of the cities that are further to the south, like Naples and some of those other cities that we'll have to watch out for. And then the central part of Florida. So it looks like it's taking it across the central part of Florida, like Tampa, Orlando. Well, not so much Tampa now. It looks like more like Orlando. And then it takes it off the east coast of Florida. Now, this was what the European was saying, and it looks like the European is now, all the models have come around to that European kind of. You can see how they're more clustered now, and taking it more, along that central Florida area, and then having it reemerge back over the ocean, and then making a landfall again in South Carolina. So that seems to be what the thinking is on a lot of these models now. If we go and we'll look at the models right now, we'll take a look at this right now. We will go and we'll look at southeast here. All right, this of course is the GFS model here. So the GFS model here takes us and gives us a landfall. It looks like south of Tampa, just south of Tampa, which would put Tampa in a pretty bad spot. And you can see it takes it a landfall, and it gives the landfall is going to be. They're going to start feeling the effects tomorrow. Like I said, they're going to start feeling the effects by tomorrow morning, and then conditions will rapidly deteriorate during the day tomorrow in the Tampa area. And you see then it kind of hangs east there, goes across the central part of Florida and crawls. So here we are. The landfall would be the worst of the conditions. Would probably be sometime after sunset tomorrow, and then through the night it's gonna and then it's gonna slowly crawl across Florida. Look at this. So this is gonna really be very bad. This is gonna result in, this is like the worst case scenario here, because there's gonna be tremendous amounts of flooding in Orlando and a lot of these areas interior. Just because you're in interior Florida, don't think that you're not going to deal with the effects of this, because everybody in the whole central part of the state is going to feel the effects of this. And you can see here, except Miami will probably get off easy, but further north, central Florida is really going to get a pounding from this, according to what the GFS is saying here. And then it reemerges back over the water again, could still be a hurricane, and then making a landfall. It looks like it's trying to make a landfall almost into Georgia, like Savannah. And then once you get towards Saturday, it starts going and kind of finally starting to dissipate over the mountains there. But I mean, if we go and we look at the total rainfall on this, you'll see here, this is that foot of rain that we're talking about that would fall, and this is going to be devastating. There's going to be so much flooding. So people are evacuating, but if you're just evacuating inland to like Orlando, you're going to be dealing with the same kind of flooding. If you're evacuating, my suggestion is either you evacuate toward Miami or evacuate toward the Panhandle. This seems to be the track that this is taking right now. This whole particular area of Florida here, this also involves part of Cape Canaveral and the Space Coast, Jacksonville, all the way down, or Orlando, Tampa. This is going to be devastating with the flooding here. A foot of rain is going to cause widespread flooding. The storm is going to take its time crawling across Florida and lashing with the rain and the wind. And, I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of power outages from this, obviously. So that's one model we can look at now. Let's go to the NAM. Actually, let's go to the HRRR, which we should have fully in right by now. We'll have the HRRR in as well and see what the HRRR does here. And I know I'm focusing on the rain here. We'll look at the wind in a moment here, but you can see landfall just south, and this landfalls it in the afternoon tomorrow. So the HRR is a little quicker with the landfall, and then it goes right over central Florida and then reemerges out over the coast. It moves out a little quicker than the GFS, but it reemerges it, and look how far east it takes it. So, yeah, this is definitely something that they would reemerge, and it would probably stay a hurricane the whole time. Florida is flat. It's not going to weaken the hurricane that much, all right? If we look at the total accumulated precipitation here, again, you see that stripe of yellow. That is where the worst conditions are going to be with the rainfall, and that's where there's going to be widespread flooding. I think everything in that area that's going to be yellow is going to experience flooding. So now we'll go and we'll shift over to the winds, and I will be using some of the more short-range models for this because obviously this is the HRR, and you can see that it's going to be an intensifying hurricane, a landfalling hurricane, so it's going to be intensifying as it makes landfall, which is definitely the most devastating way to have a hurricane. And you can see it go across there. And if you're in this Lake Okeechobee area, you're going to be dealing with a lot of problems. And then it reemerges over here. And this southern track would affect Palm Beach County more as well. So let's go to the GFS again. So this is the GFS. All right, GFS a little further north, but it still has that strengthening just before, and then it reemerges and then comes in over that. We'll have to see what happens because the trend to go east is definitely there. So let's now go to the URL, the model that started this east trend in the beginning here, and we'll go to take a look at the European model, and see again there it is. It takes that track and just crawls it. European's a little more to the left now, though. So but this literally just keeps the storm close enough to the water to hold on to its strength, yet crawls it over the land and causes tremendous. It'll have time to cause tremendous damage because it's going to be a very long-lasting event, and it's just going to bring a lot of rain. Why is this? Nope, that's the 24-hour we need total. There's that yellow again. So this is what I'm talking about. Catastrophic flooding could be some of the worst flooding from rainfall Florida has ever seen over here. So that's why this whole entire area here, you've seen yellow, people evacuate. Even if you're inland, you need to evacuate because you're going to be flooded out and you're going to have to be rescued. And it's going to be real horrible for sure. If we look at the winds, we will look at the winds here. So you see that similar trend there, all right? So we got one more model to look at here. That is the NAM, and I'll use the NAM 12, which we have 29 hours in. We'll use the latest 0Z run. You can see it keeps the idea of that landfall. So it seems like there is an agreement, though the HRR is a little more to the right of the other models. There is some type of agreement within that. All right. Now we'll pull out and we'll show you again a look at the CONUS view here, and we'll go to the GFS here and show you again. This is what the issue is. You have the high that's building in over the northeast that blocks it, slows it down. Now GFS does break that high down, and we eventually see some of that moisture possibly work into our area now as soon as Saturday. GFS may be a little too fast for that. All right. Let's see what the European does with that. This is the European. European's a bit slower, all right, with it, all right. And then we have a few other models. Well, those are the models I'm going to go over right now. So let's talk about our weather for a little bit, and then we'll go back to talking about Ian. Obviously, we'll just talk about the day we had today. Obviously, mostly sunny day, some clouds, but mostly sunny more or less. 64. Dew point 46 at Farmingdale. Let's go look at the highs. So generally today we had highs in the low 70s, I believe. Maybe slightly above normal, but yes, low 70s more or less. And you can see the winds were pretty much from the west to the southwest all day long. Again, if we look at the... kind of don't want to spend too much time on this because we got to talk about the storm. But there's islip there, 61, dew point 48. So it was a pretty pleasant day today, and we'll have a nice stretch of weather for the next couple of days before we start dealing with whatever's left of Ian. So let's go back to this here, and we will go and we will look at some of the other models that we have to look at. So let me go to the windy.com model, which gives us a closer look, more higher resolution look at Ian here. All right. So there's Ian right there. So we'll track it. This is looking at the European model. So you'll see it gaining strength there. All right. And this is nice because it shows the cities, so it's a little easier. So this is the European. Again, taking it further south, it takes it south of Tampa, and it takes it more along that just between Naples and Tampa and some of these other cities here. All right. So it wouldn't be a direct hit on Tampa, but Tampa would still feel some pretty significant effects. And then it kind of, and you can see it kind of just takes its sweet time crawling over Florida here, and you can still clearly see the wind here from it. And then it's going to reemerge, and then make that landfall again in Georgia. Now that is the European. And if we look at the wind gusts on this, as we throw the gusts in, because I think that gives us a more accurate representation of what the winds are going to be like. You can see how that area of bright white, that's where you're going to see those winds in those Category 3, Category 4 forces. And again, this is the European model, and it looks like Sarasota, and it looks like Tampa would get into the edge of that. Cape Coral. Yeah, there it looks like it takes direct aim at Orlando, which is going to feel some of that strong wind too, though it does seem to wind down the wind when it gets into the middle of Florida, and maybe doing that a little too quickly. And so I still think Orlando, you're going to see hurricane conditions for sure. And then it reemerges out over the water again and strengthens again. Now this is the European model. All right, so now we're going to go and look at the GFS model on the same thing. And we'll first start with the regular low-end wind amounts here. And you'll see here is the GFS. And it has a bigger eye, and it not quite as intense as the European, but it's much slower than the European. You'll notice that, and it just keeps that wind. Just keeps that. It has a bigger circulation too. So if you look at wind gusts here, just not as strong as on the wind gust as you see here. All right, so it's not as strong as the European here. On the wind gusts, and I think it's underestimating it. I really do. I think it's going to be a stronger hurricane than that because there's plenty of warm water around. So I think the GFS is underestimating this storm quite a bit. Then we have the HRRR model. All right, and of course, we don't have that much of that available to us here. But if we look at the wind gusts on the HRRR, which is much higher resolution, as you see here, it has that landfall just south of Tampa, where the strongest winds would be. But I still think all these models are underestimating the storm. I think it's going to landfall as a Category 4 hurricane. That's what the Weather Service, that's what the National Hurricane Center is saying, and that's what I agree with. And again, this is one model here. We can also go and we can look at the Ventus Sky site as well, which uses the HRRR as its native, as its native model. So we can look at that. And this is Ian here. And we can go and we can look at tomorrow here, the 28th. We move this to 1 o'clock. And we can take a look and move this forward here as we go after midnight here. And it's going to be over very warm water. You can see it's going to take its time. The longer it sits there, the more strength it gains. And again, the winds are, you can see 132, 133. And there's Tampa right here, right? So this is, again, 10 a.m. It still hasn't made landfall yet. The eye is still, as of noon, it's still out over the water again. So it's still sitting out over the water, still gaining strength. Here we are, 2 o'clock. It looks like for Tampa, the eye would not hit Tampa. This is the HRRR, and it looks like it goes over this Cape Coral area instead. And it kind of just sits there. Look at this, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Finally starts making its way up to Tampa, and they start feeling the effects by the evening. But you can see it's a slow mover, and that's what's going to make this storm so devastating. It's going to move slow, and it's going to have plenty of time to cause a lot of damage. And it's going to be bad. And my prayers go out to everybody in Florida, especially those areas that are going to be hardest hit by this storm. So let's now take a look at our weather. And again, for us, we have the high pressure building in. So we have a nice couple of days. So let's go to the HRRR model here, and we'll show you that as we head in it'll be dry, no precipitation. It's showing some sprinkles tomorrow, late tomorrow afternoon. You know, the instability, cloudiness, the same kind of instability, cloudiness we saw a little bit today. And then Thursday, you could see there was the outer bands of Ian here making its way closer to us and possibly bringing some clouds and moisture. And this is, again, the HRRR model. It's trying to show that, but I think it's being too aggressive with it. So let's go look at the dew points and winds. So obviously, as we head into tomorrow, well, the winds have turned more west to northwest, and we'll see that tomorrow as well. The winds will be west and then turning more toward the north as we head later into the day. And it's like a little secondary front that comes through, and then the winds go north and then northeasterly as we get under the influence of Ian. All right. So let's look at the temperatures here. So tonight we're going to drop back into the 50s. It'll be nice cool morning. And tomorrow, highs in the upper 60s to around 70. And then for Thursday, you'll notice it'll be a little bit cooler with that northeast flow. We probably will not see 70 degrees on that day. And then beyond that, obviously, if we look at the GFS, which we'll go ahead and look at next with the temperatures here and the wind flow. So we'll go back to dew point wind flow here. So this again shows you what happens with the winds, and then we start seeing that easterly flow develop, which will slowly bring the clouds and the moisture in as we head toward the weekend. This is the GFS, and you can see, look at the difference between the dry air we're in and the tropical air just off to the south. And there's going to be a pressure gradient between the high and the whatever's left of Ian that could cause some pretty gusty winds for us as well, that we'll have to watch out for as well. But, you know, we'll get to that when we get to that. Right now, we're still waiting for it to make landfall, and that will determine a lot. So we'll go to the temperatures. So temperatures as we head into tomorrow. And then you see it gets a little cooler Friday, and then the weekend we may be dealing with clouds and perhaps a chance of showers from Ian. Though, again, we have to see where it's going to make landfall because that is going to affect a lot of things. So there's still a lot can change between now and then. So let me go to the skies now. And you see here we are into tomorrow. Tomorrow we should have a mostly sunny day. We're in kind of like this window of clear skies over Long Island. And then for Thursday, this is where we got to watch this cloud boundary here, this cloud shield for me. And I don't think it makes it here by Thursday, but I think by Friday we'll definitely start seeing the effects of that. So we can also look at the higher resolution. Yeah, I don't have enough of that in yet. Look at the RGM. This is the RGM Canadian model, and you'll see we should have fairly clear skies tomorrow. Long Island and probably New Jersey too. And then for Thursday, you'll see that we're on this periphery. So Thursday, you can see a little bit of cirrus off to the south, a little bit from Ian. And then eventually you'll start seeing a little more of that on Friday. And it's probably going to be pretty clouds because the clouds from those storms usually are. But other than that, fair weather for the rest of this week. And we have to watch what happens on the weekend. But right now, we're just watching Ian right now, getting ready to hit Florida. And we'll see if we can get a more updated advisory here. I don't think the next one won't be until 11 o'clock, I think. So, again, it says here where the hurricane warnings and the storm surge warnings are. Lastly, we'll go look at the power outage map and see if Florida is... Yep, they're already experiencing power outages already, it looks like. None in the Cape, but it looks like there are a few in Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. So, they're already feeling the effects of this. So I think that will wrap up this weather update, and I'll provide more updates on Ian when I can. Obviously, everyone in Florida, please be safe and get out of the areas that are going to be hardest hit right now. I would say Tampa, this whole area here from Tampa down to like Cape Coral is going to be the hardest hit. You can already see power outages already starting to happen as some of the outer bands start arriving in Florida. So that is going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching and have a good night.